Okay, so this is the script we're gonna make. A player that goes left and right. That's about it. In the tutorial, it's not gonna look this nice. It's just gonna be like a white box and shit. I should have made it look nice, but yeah, let's get into it. So first of all, let's create an empty object and call it Ray. And let's just go ahead and give it a tag or whatever this is called. So we could actually see it. So it's actually visible. Put it next to our player. We're actually just gonna put it inside our enemy. So now they move together. Then make sure your thing has a rigid body capsule collider or collider. Then let's make a ground layer. Let's set this or your ground, your floor, whatever for your game. Set it to ground, give it the layer because we're gonna need that in our script. Now let's make the script for this. Call it enemy movement or something. Okay, now let's go in it. Let's delete that. First of all, let's make a public transform for our array. Let's just call it Ray. If you don't know what this does, we're basically getting access to this in our script. Since it's public, let's make a private, no, public ground distance. Let's make this a float ground distance. I'll explain that right now later. And let's grab the enemy's rigid body. So private rigid body TB. Let's call it RB. If you don't know what this does, I'll explain it. It literally explains itself. We made a rigid body variable called RB, and since it's private, we have no reference to it, so we have to reference it on the start. Use get component. This is basically just getting the component from our enemy or whatever this is in. Like let's say we put this in a player, it'll grab the rigid body. So it's basically just grabbing this component. When we do this, let's make the raycast. Let's make a private bool and call it is grounded. Just go ahead and make a return. Physics2D. I don't know what Physics2D is. I think it just gives us access to cast, raycast, boxcast, and stuff. And we're gonna be using raycast. So the first thing in our raycast, it needs a position, like a starting position. And we're gonna use the ray's position. If you don't know what I'm talking about, this ray has a position, and down here we made it public, so we can actually just drag this into the transform, and now we have this ray's position. Basically, all of these components in here. So I'm gonna just say ray position. We'll get all of its position and stuff. Then the second one is where we're gonna shoot this raycast. Let's shoot it down. So vector2 dot down. You can also do up, left, right, but this one has to go down so we can know when to turn. And then this one is the distance. So let's use ground distance. Basically like how far you want this ray to shoot. Okay? Like the end position, because a raycast has a starting position and the end position. This is its starting position. This is the end position. Right here is going to be a layer mask. So let's go ahead and make a public layer mask. Call it ground. I'm just going to go ahead and put ground in here. This is basically just getting access to this layer up here, which the ground has, right? Say so it's ground. Go into our enemy. Set ground to ground. So this raycast that we're shooting is gonna look for any object that has this layer. The only object that has this layer is our ground. We're almost done already. Make a public on a private void update. And in here, we're basically just gonna do rb.velocity. What this does is basically just doing velocity, giving velocity to our rigid body that we did up here. Then it's equal to a new vector 2. Vector 2 is basically just giving us access to our enemy x and y position. So for the x position, let's make a new variable, public, so we can control it inside of Unity. So public move speed, float move speed. Just gonna go ahead and do move speed right here. And right here, just do rb.velocity.y, because if you don't, it's gonna set itself to 0 all the time. Like if it jumps or falls off, it's gonna keep setting itself to 0, which is really weird. Let's go to make if this is false, so not is grounded. This exclamation mark just means not, or the opposite of this. So we're checking if when this is false, we're gonna change the player's position. And why is it getting false? Because it's not touching ground anymore. So let's say our player's moving and this ray that it's shooting is not touching the ground, right? It's just touching nothing, which is gonna set this to false. So if this is false, let's change the move speed of our player so we could actually turn left. And this is an easy thing. We just do move speed is equal to move speed times -1. And there's a shorter way of writing this. Just do times equals -1. Basically the same thing, just that this one's quicker. But there's a problem. When we just do this, let me show you guys. Our player's gonna act weird. Like he's gonna start spamming itself. And there's a reason, because he's not flipping. And also, let's draw the ray so you guys could see the ray and how it's acting. Forgot that. Private void, and then something called on, I think draw gizmos. This thing gets annoying. Then we're just gonna say gizmo dot draw line, so we can actually draw this line. And how we draw this line, we get the starting position like here. So ray dot position, so that's the starting position. Then we make a new vector 2. Just go ahead and give it the x position dot position dot x, ray dot position dot y. And this y, we're actually gonna subtract it by ground distance. So it can actually show, because if we don't, it's not gonna show. And the reason why is because when we subtract things, it goes down. As you can see, if I move our player down, the y position is moving down right here, negatively. So if we have a starting position and we subtract the y by this, it'll shoot down, which makes sense. I'm pretty sure if that's how it works. I don't know. Maybe I'm being stupid. But if we save this, we'll actually see the ray. So let's hit the ray distance. As you can see, it's shooting a beam off of this transform, this position. Boom, a beam. So just set it to a normal height. And boom, we drew that. Now we need to flip the player so actually move. So actually, I don't know explain the fuck. I've avoided flip. Then we're just gonna get the players transform. Just putting transform, we get the whatever component or object is using this script, we're getting that transform. So transform the rotate 0 180 0. If you don't know what this does, basically just grabbing this rotation right here and setting the Y to 180 so that it flips and the rate also flips. Okay. And we're actually just gonna go ahead and do flip here, call flip right here. And our script should be done. Holy shit, what's deleting? Set it to 5 or something. Their place should flip every time it hits. It's not on the ground. If you still don't get this, how it works, basically just moving. And as I said, this is searching for a layer called ground. Any object that has ground in it. So if this has ground, then he's gonna keep moving. But then when he gets off of it, like right here, this is no longer touching any object called ground, which in our script we told it to flip and change its direction. So this will actually just flip our player by 180 like this. And then since this changes direction, it's gonna start moving left. And if you don't know how this works, basically if move speed is positive, we're gonna times it by -1, so it's gonna turn into a negative number. And if it touches the left side, we're gonna change it again. 2 negatives is a positive, so it's gonna start moving to the right. Just flip this. And yeah, that's our script. It now works. Pretty sure it works if you set it to a high speed too. See? Okay, bye.